Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I am the host of the Founders Report. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've got 17 startups under my belt and 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Yva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. Today, I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart, yes, the heart of Silicon Valley, Palo Alto. But with that, as I said, we believe intellectual capacity is evenly spread. So today, we're going to have our great guest, Ivan Kristel. He's an investor. He's an entrepreneur. He's in Slovakia. He's a founder and co-founder and owner of IT businesses and Montessori kindergartens. So with that, how you doing today, Ivan?
I'm doing great, thank you. This is actually a tough act to follow. Anytime you do an intro, anybody needs to be like, geez, what I'm going to say.
I'm sure you'll come up with something. So tell me a little bit about it. So you went to Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava. You're a manufacturing engineer, correct?
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about it. Your first startup you did was chatsupport.net. What was that? And where is Zvolen? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Zvolen. Yeah, it's actually in the middle of Slovakia. And as for my background or my university, you wouldn't want me to do anything related to, like technological stuff around the house, hardware, and so on. I'm very good with software understanding, go-to-market strategies, marketing, but nothing to do with what I studied, to be honest.
And what made you decide to flip from being a manufacturing engineer to startups?
I guess it's one of those things like I've heard this comparison that when you go to a cinema and you don't like the movie, and even if it's like an hour and a half in the movie, you have only 2 options. I mean, you either stay and you suffer and you lose money, or you go away. You lost your money anyway, but you will save maybe 30 or one hour from your time. So this is what happened with me and my studying on university. I guess I wouldn't call it a switch. It was just a bad decision from the beginning, the university, and then I just decided to follow what was close to my heart, and I started to run businesses when I was, I think, 21, 22.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about it. How was it setting up your first business?
Difficult. I mean, it's very different. I think it's fair to say that it's much harder to start business in the 90s or in early 2000s in Slovakia compared to USA. I mean, my first business was actually about chat support for technological websites. My idea was to provide like cheap labor from technologically skilled people from Slovakia who would be able to provide you a support, I don't know, for whatever affiliate program or any software that you might be selling online. It went okay. I mean, we were growing, but to be honest, it was a business that I didn't like. To be honest, that's why we started to do startups or like software solutions. We did a couple of them, or I think in altogether maybe 4 of them. Some of them were successful on a usage base, but never on the profit level. So that's why we've decided to do mostly agency related work. So we did a lot of like subcontracts for all the agencies or top agencies in this region. And this is something that I sometimes do, or if it's a good client and if I like it, I'm very happy to help. This is something that I like. And to be honest, no matter like where I am now, I still feel my job is about project management. So this is my background, or this is what we started to do. I think it was maybe 5 years in business. And then we had an idea with my girlfriend to actually do a kindergarten. Now we have 2. And I also, and this sounds weird, but this is actually my latest stage of the career when I manage right now 2 investment funds. One of them is Air Ventures, which is a vehicle of investment group called MiddleCap. And the other one is the one that is pretty new, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Even though we are not officially launched, I would be happy to maybe share some details. It's called Czech and Slovak Founders Fund, and it's basically a group of 40 super talented founders who exited their companies and are planning to invest back into the ecosystem. So that's in a nutshell what I did and what I do.
That sounds. So tell me, what are the challenges? So if you look at it, so living in Slovakia and the Czech Republic, how is it? Do you go back and forth between the two? Is it seamless, or how is it set up? Do you do business on both sides? By the way, you're on mute. There you are.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking.
Yeah.
I try to travel to Czech Republic maybe once in two weeks. We do have a lot of agenda there. I think it's also fair to say that Czech's ecosystem or startup ecosystem is actually further compared to or advanced compared to Slovakia. So that's why most of the work that comes to our fund is actually from Czech. But I do believe there is still potential in Slovakia. But let's be fair, I think it's 2-1 when it comes to amount of work that comes from Czech Republic compared to Slovakia. So I try to juggle, but to be honest, I love every single visit that I do to Czech Republic. Have you ever been to Prague in person?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
For me, it's a lovely city, and I always like to walk around, and we do have a great team there. I always am happy to meet with them and spend time there, to be honest.
What's the difference? Why is it 2-1 in the Czech Republic versus Slovakia? Why is there such a big difference?
I guess, and yeah, this is going to be just my opinion, so don't take it as a statistics or something that I can point you to. But I think it's mostly about cooperation. Czech ecosystem, in my opinion, somehow seems to be able to cooperate on a better basis. In Slovakia, we do have investment funds, but they're mostly on their own. In Czech Republic, it's very normal, and we actually organized the Investors Breakfast Club, which we do every single month, and we meet with 40 other representatives of other funds, and we basically discuss the deals, some info that is somehow circling on the market. And we talk a lot, we co-invest, and it works. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest difference. But there's the second thing that Czech has. I think they right now they have 2 exited unicorns, and that makes a huge difference. If there are in the ecosystem companies that actually exited, let's say 10 years ago, and now the top management starts to run new businesses, and they are now in the stage of exit, and the ecosystem exponentially grows. And I do believe that this is what's been missing in Slovakia, and I do believe it's something that you can spot actually in, for example, Romania. After the success of UiPath, it seems like everything is growing, and they're exponentially growing in their market when it comes to startups and advancing the ecosystem. And this is something that I believe is missing in Slovakia, even though most of my colleagues always remind me, but you have to remember that at least 1/3 of successful entrepreneurs in Czech Republic are from Slovakia, actually. So it's sort of like a mixed nation, and we do a lot of work for Czech companies and so on. So it's hard to say, but these are the 2 things, in my opinion, that make a huge difference: the stage of ecosystem and cooperation.
Interesting. All right. So, and so you got a company in Slovakia. How do you go global? So what happens? So you want to dominate a global market. What do you do?
You know what? Like, this is something that maybe I should ask you, to be honest. But we, at the moment, we try to look for connections in Silicon Valley, in USA, or in other markets. I mean, it's never been easier to go global than now, but it obviously has some difficulties. You need to have a good connection. You need to be fully ready. You need to know that this is something that you really want to do, and you are happy to relocate, and so on and so on. So there are plenty of steps that you need to do. But for me, connections are very important, and this is the reason why I'm always happy to talk to you, because I feel we need to build bridges between Europe and the USA, and I do think that it's a relationship that can work both ways for investors in USA, for investors in Europe, and also for the startupists.
That's what we did today. So today, our company raised money in Africa, right? So it's an African startup in South Africa. XOXO Day is an Indian company. So it's a matter of, just connecting the dots. The beauty of it is people that have money want to invest in really good companies. They just don't know where to find them. The problem is finding those companies and feeling comfortable that they're not going to get scammed. There's not going to be some strange situation where you're going to lose their money. So I think that, making the ecosystem stronger, bringing people together and showing success. You have $1 billion exit in the Czech Republic. There's a whole lot you can do in terms of credibility. People want to bet on winners, right? So if you're in Formula One, it's real easy to get the sponsors to be able to win the next Formula One, because they're going to give you a better car, better tires, all kinds of things. Oh, by the way, why don't we try this new part? We just invented it. You'll be the first one. And it'll take you 5% faster, right? So that's part of it. But the other thing is having an open mind, being able to go global and being optimistic and pushing forward. A lot of places in the world have a different, they look at the glass as being half full or half empty rather than half full. And it needs to be looked at half full, because if you're not passionate about it, it's hard to get investment. People aren't going to come in if you say, well, I'm not sure if this is going to work. It might work, it might not. So it's really interesting to see those kind of dynamics play out. And I see that now around the world. And I see these companies that are incredible. There are 54 countries in Africa. And you see places like Nigeria with 206 million people that's really taken off. Why? Because they don't have a good financial system set up, but they got a lot of AI talent that they've been developing. So you start putting those two pieces together, and now you've got incredible companies. So it's interesting. So what's the future look like over the next? So tell me a little bit about MiddleCap Group. What are you doing? What's going to happen over the next year, 2 years? What are you looking to do with it? And where the company's going to be located? In the Czech Republic, in Slovakia, or worldwide?
I guess where should I start? MiddleCap is a huge investment group, or from my point of view, it's a big investment group. Just to give you an example, we invested over 750 million in the past 3 years, and we are already in 12 countries. So it's an investment group that does a lot. To be honest, it's hard to predict now what will happen with all the things going in Ukraine, with the whole world. So to be honest, it's hard to make predictions. What's going to happen on with capital markets, and I do try to follow a couple of people that I consider to be visionary, and when it comes to, for example, topics like what's going to happen with the Bitcoin valuation when it comes to Ukraine, the honest or I think the fair answer is that we do not know, and I think it's okay to start being okay about it, and when it comes to venture capital division of investment group, we are actually not investing heavily. That's why we've decided to, or me and my partner, my managing partner in Air Ventures, we've decided to actually build a new fund that will be able to invest. And we've decided to actually answer a couple of things that you mentioned earlier. When you invest into this region, and I do think it's fair to say that investors do have this sort of fear that it's a Western bloc, it might be difficult, who knows what the shareholder agreements look like, and all the investors there, what they do in this market. So this is actually something that I do believe is a real thing, that you have to worry about if you're an investor from USA or even from like I don't know, Scandinavian countries. And this is something that we try to solve with the Czech and Slovak Founders Fund. Basically, we are a group of 40 people who decided that the investments that we had in our companies were not super healthy from time to time, let's put it this way, and the conditions that we were given in the first investment rounds actually harmed the company in the following and consequent rounds. So that's why we've decided
that's really important. You know, I have these conversations a lot with people all over. That's a great point. I try to tell them that if you go into a round and you don't have the right kind of perspective, you can have serious problems when you're going to the next rounds, right? The conditions are do not permit additional rounds to take place. They really tie you up, right? Whether it's board seats, whether it's evaluation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell us about what are some of the ways that you've been through. What are some of the ways that those companies have not been able to raise additional funds, or it's been difficult because of problems? What are some of the things that you've seen?
One thing that comes to my mind at you know at the earliest is multiple liquidation preference. This is something that was normal or standard in early stages of investments here, and it's something that usually startups don't even understand. And when it comes to later investment rounds, the new investor comes and takes a look and says, listen guys, there's a lot to pay back for the investor that you had in the first round, but there's not much left for you and not much left for us either. So this is what was happening on a regular basis when it comes to investment rounds. Other thing is taking control of the company. I do think it's okay to understand that venture capital is a tricky business and it can fail, and to put terms in a term sheet or in shareholder agreement where you have the ability to take over the company is something that, in my opinion, is not a standard, is not something that you should do as an investor, especially in venture capital.
Really, that's bad. I've seen that too, by the way.
Yeah, and this is something that was happening in this ecosystem, and now we are very advanced. And don't get me wrong, we are not that bad, but we do have some way ahead of us, and I do believe that what we try to do is actually making things right when it comes to these kind of conditions in the term sheets of early stage investments.
No, that's great. And so what are the kind of companies that you're seeing now? What are you seeing in the Czech Republic and Slovakia? What are they focused around? What are some of the sweet spots?
There's a lot of tech background in this region. We do have, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name names in this show, but we do have a couple of giants in security.
Yeah, no, you can name names from my perspective. I mean, I just want to say, we don't want to say negative things, but let's talk about the positive.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Yeah. We do have big players in security. We have Avast, we have Assets. Those are like two giants in security business. And attached to it is a lot of know-how that does a lot in security. That is attached to software development. I do think we have very good skilled and skilled people in AI. So mostly technologically oriented people, and also it's fair to say that we are automotive nations. So anything attached to it, some software solution, logistics, and so on. And so these are the solutions that usually come up in this region. And
what about electric vehicles, Ivan? I know you do a lot with cars, but what about electric vehicles? Is there any movement there? Because you've got some of the basics for it. Do you see any companies working on, charging or electric vehicles in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, actually, we do have at the moment two startups from this area on our investment table that we are now negotiating with. There's a lot of technological solutions, but to be honest, we are not a region that allows early stage startups to create a traction that would be relevant for Western investors. So that's why it's mostly around technology. Services are something that need to quickly go abroad to a bigger market that can provide customers, especially when it comes to electronic vehicles. I do believe that we are maybe around, I don't know, I want to say 3, 4, 5% when it comes to owning electric vehicles compared to combustion engines.
Well, I mean, we're all going to have to do it at some point in time because we're not going to have the fossil fuels to be able to drive and if we keep doing what we're doing today, we're going to have a real problem because population going from 8.1 billion to 13 billion estimated by the end of the century. We're going to have a lot more cars, and the climate is going to change a lot more quickly. And so we've got a lot of challenges in front of us. Population increase between now and 2050 is going to double, and we can't increase the number of livestock because 26% of the pollution day is cows with methane gas. So we got to figure out other ways to be able to work together to make this world a better place, right? Instead of fighting, we got to figure out how to save the planet. Instead of trying to kill each other, we got to figure out how we can help feed each other in all kinds of ways. And I spoke at the United Nations twice, and my second presentation was technology as a tool for peace, and this was about 4 months ago. I wish people would have listened, but I talked about it. The reason that a lot of these groups form, like Boko Haram and ISIS, are because people are trying to feed their families, right? Of course, there's religion, etc., but people join groups a lot of times to feed their family, and they don't have any other direction. Well, if we created jobs, really good, high-paying jobs, tech jobs in places like Africa, we could actually change the world. In the Middle East, we could make the world a better place. And so we ought to figure out how to use all the intellectual capital that we have on the planet to solve the problems. A friend of mine's a astronaut, and he told me there's 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way, an estimated 2.2 trillion galaxies in the universe. So, we're just on a journey. He said when you go out in space and you look down the planet, you understand how small we are and how much we don't know. We need to figure out how to be able to, because eventually we're going to have to, figure out where we can live. And we just started those journeys with companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin to be able to make the world a better place. But we can all participate, right? Doesn't matter where you are. You can be in the smallest city in Slovakia and help put a dent in the universe. Look at Steve Jobs. His parents were Armenian. He was adopted. His parents were Armenian. Look where he went with it. By just being curious and having a supportive environment. But that can be it for all of us. My family came over. My grandmother came over from Egypt. She's a Greek Egyptian, and she was 13 years old. Could barely speak English. Came over to the country, and then they started businesses. Grandfather came from Greece. So we all have the opportunity. It's not just about the U.S. By the way, Silicon Valley is just a portal to the rest of the world. It's about how we can work together and connect the dots. So I love what you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job. And I hear more and more about the companies from Slovakia and the Czech Republic. We see them. We want to work with them. We want to help them. It's a little bit closed, by the way, Ivan. So we don't see, they're kind of shy or modest, maybe. They're, and technical. So they're not out there in a marketing standpoint, but we do see them.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, you're right. I do think there's a lot of technological talent, but we are missing the salespeople. People who do have the courage to go abroad and make a statement. And the thing that I wanted to say, I think there are a couple of things that we need to realize. First, that, as you mentioned, we have to make changes. And second thing is that the world is changing rapidly. And if you combine these two things, only those that are skilled enough will be able to manage. And I do think that we are in this area because we do see potential that this can happen, and we want to be around it. And for me, this is a super exciting time to be in venture capital, even though it's not a good time to be around, obviously, with all the things going on in the world.
And how is that affecting what kind of impact is this Ukrainian war? What kind of impact does that have in Slovakia? Do you feel the impact in terms of, can you feel what's happening there, or is it just a lot of talk at this point? Do you see things?
I mean, there's a lot of, you can sense it. And just to give you a quick figures, I do believe there is 19 Slovakians per one Ukrainian. And in Czech Republic, I think it's 1 to 21. And in Poland, it's 1 to 19. Poland, obviously, being the biggest country. So there's a lot of Ukrainian people around, and there's a lot of positive things actually happening in Czech, Slovakia. Obviously, there's a lot of hate and things that are happening always online, but there's a lot of solidarity. I do believe we had this conversation earlier. You are also helping a lot, and you are not even from here. If you are here, you actually see people going over the weekend looking for jobs. They're trying to have some free time in open spaces, and you see them a lot. And the positive thing that I see is that a lot of people from around me are trying to help with whatever they can do. We are doing what we can. For example, in the Montessori kindergartens, we I think now we took some 8 kids to have a kindergarten services. A lot of people from around me are actually giving flats to Ukrainian people to have some home. So a lot of things are happening, and you can sense it a lot actually in this region.
No, that's good, and we got to help more. So, is there a group in Slovakia? We have viewers from all over the world where they can connect with people to be able to help. Do you know anybody that's there that you could put them in touch with, or could they go through you?
There's a lot of groups helping, and there are mostly local that I know of. One is called Kto pomoże Ukrainie, which is a Slovakian name for who will help Ukraine.
And how do
And
they find them? What's their? Do you know their website? Is there a way where they can find them?
yeah, let me actually write it in chat if you can then post it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check for their website. And then this is something that, yeah, I will have to send you the URL afterwards. Maybe you can
Yeah, I
put it
mean,
in the
we can send
description.
it over, and whatever we can do to help. I mean, we gotta, I'm not sure in life what's right and who's right and who's wrong, but I know by actions what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And whatever we can do to help, we're always out there. As I said, my wife's half Ukrainian, half Russian, so we're on both sides of the fence, and we I can't tell you how disruptive it is to know that your family's running away from these aggressors coming at them, like today, and 6 of them in a car trying to get away before something bad happens. So we all need to go out there and to be able to help, because you never know where it's going to stop. And we've got to be able to show some compassion, empathy, and love to each one another. So the other side is we hear a lot from Ukrainian tech founders that are coming out of the Ukraine and looking for opportunities to house their startups. And it would be great to for you with all your knowledge, so if they can reach out to you. They're looking for places where they have incredible companies, right? But they're looking for homes. So if you don't mind, we can share your email address and have them, maybe interested in potential investments for you. Maybe you can help.
That would be, I would be super excited to receive any leads. I pasted in the chat the link to the website that I believe is relevant for anybody who wants to help Ukraine. But I do believe that if people want, they can find the source and do some background check if it's someone valid, and help out if they
No,
can.
that's great. I really appreciate, Ivan. We're coming to the top of the show. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule. You're an amazing guy. You've done incredible things, and I know you've been helpful to me in terms of pointing us in the right direction. Look forward to speaking at any engagements that you have coming up in the Czech Republic or Slovakia, whatever I can do. I'll be in your region in May timeframe, so we'll be over there speaking at AI Summit. I'll be a little bit away from you. I'll be in Spain, but I'm going to be coming up through the region. So hope to see you. Stay safe, stay happy. What are closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
I'm happy to receive any sort of like leads or contacting inquiries from LinkedIn. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Ivan Kristel. You will find me as a managing partner of Stealth Business Mode, but we will soon be announced. And you can also reach me on Ivan at czechfounders.vc. I would be happy to receive any emails, any leads, or anybody who wants to join our Founders Fund. We are actually raised, but if there is a successful or a founder that can add some value to the fund, we would be happy to have him, and happy to have a discussion with him how we can help each other out. So happy to receive any emails from people that listened.
No, that's great. Any closing thoughts? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for all the good work that you are doing, and thank you for keeping in touch with me. I'm not a very good networker, and you always seem to be able to remember and getting in touch, and I do appreciate it. So thank you very much for this.
No, appreciate it. And I have a good chief of staff, so she helps out a lot.
That's true. Jane does a lot. So
she does a lot. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to thank the entire LaToken VCTV team for making the Founders Report with Gary Fowler possible, Hasmik and the entire team. Thank you. To all of our friends all over the world, and especially in the Ukraine, our prayers. We love you. We care. So stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. And reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can get me on Facebook, or Gary at GSDVS.com. Always happy to help. Take care of yourself, and see you later. Stay tuned for another edition coming back in another 2 weeks of the Founders Report with Gary Fowler. I'm your host. Thank you.